Okay, awesome. Hi everyone, welcome to the Pylades Chennai October meetup. And so, just before we get started with today's meetup, I wanted to explain to you and introduce to you to all the new folks out here as to what is Pylades Chennai, and why are we here. So yeah, PyLadies is basically an international mentorship group, and we help women to contribute to the open source community. So be it any field wherever you use Python, be it data science, web development, security, game development. So we want women, and we empower women, create a platform for them to um, you know, contribute to the Python open source. And basically, the whole concept of PyLady started in PyCon US in the year 2011. So PyCons are a conference, annual, Python conference. So the whole concept of having a separate group for women started in the year 2011 in US, and then so for the past 9 years, we have grown over 100 plus chapters worldwide, and there are around 7 plus chapters, active chapters in India. So PyLadies Chennai is the regional chapter for Chennai city. So you can, if you want to know more about PyLadies, you can just click install us and see what other chapters are up to and visit. So what do we do at PyLadies Chennai? So PyLadies Chennai started in the year 2018, and so initially we used to have physical meetups, and we used to meet on a monthly basis, where we could learn, share, collaborate, have hands-on sessions, have technical talks, all of that. But eventually, off late for the past few months, we have now moved into a virtual format and trying to maintain the same monthly meetup where people can come and contribute and learn from each other. So apart from having monthly meetups, which are technical meetups, Python-related meetups, we also have a few initiatives which are being done by the team. So we have a Tech Thursday and a Saturday shoutouts. So Tech Thursday is just basically where you every Thursday we come up with some quick bits and some technical facts and Python trivia kind of course. And Saturday shoutouts is our kind of cherished initiative where we actually feature one female every Saturday. We kind of interview her journey of being a woman in tech, and hope it inspires other women who are part of our community. So this is pretty much about PyLadies Chennai. So if you guys want to get involved with us, be it as a speaker or as a volunteer, or if you want to attend future meetups, you can. So for all of it, just visit our website and you can join. So there are links for all of it. There are Google Forms for all of it. So you can find everything in our website. So if you want to give a talk in the next session, please feel free to submit your talk proposal for a technical talk or a lightning talk or a hands-on session, right? And so none of this would have been possible without our awesome team. So where who work to put each of these initiatives and meetups together. So this meetup is also possible because of all of them. And we also have a new person, Priyanka, who has joined us. Who's also part of our team. And coming back to today's meetup. So the agenda for today's meetup is basically we have one hands-on session by Mridu. We start off, which is word of the day SMS using Python and video. And followed by that, we have two lightning talks, one by Abhiram and Sonam, which is about Airflow 101 and Introduction to Bingeman, a movie recommendation and review website. So feel free to post your questions on the chat, and based on the speakers' preference, we can either take it up during the talk or probably after the talk. And in the end, we do have a 5 minutes of open discussion. So this is open for any of you who want to talk about your experiences or talk about anything. So we have a 5 minutes of open spaces kind of platform. And with that, I think we can get started, right? All right. I stop sharing. Yeah, Mridu, you're up.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. I'll just share my screen.
Okay. So, Mridu, would you like to take questions if there are any during the session, or do you want to take them at the end?
During the session is fine with me. During the
Okay.
session.
Okay, so as and when it comes, let's say on the chat or anything, either I could do it or they can probably unmute and ask you, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, yes. You can
All
see,
right.
get a word.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. I'm Mridu Bhatnagar and I'm a software engineer. And apart from that, I enjoy, like when I'm not programming, I enjoy giving talks at different meetups and conferences. So our today's session is basically on a is basically a demonstration of a side project that I had recently built. So the idea for the project was I'm getting some disturbance. Actually.
Okay. One.
Uh,
Yeah. Ritu, just one thing. So will it be possible for you to do full screen, and then I
yeah,
think
yeah,
we
yeah.
can all go on mute. And
Yes, yes, yes. I
you
can
know.
do full screen. Okay. Yeah. So the talk for today is basically a demonstration of a side project that I had recently built. So the name, as it is titled, it is Get a Word of the Day SMS with Python and Twilio. So recently I had done a side project and the idea came I had subscribed to a service named as wordsmiths.org. So when you go on to wordsmiths.org, I'll just show you what it is exactly. So there is wordsmith.org service, and as you can see there, they have mentioned a word a day. So if I subscribe to this service, then in my email, in my inbox, I used to every day get one word along with its meaning. So I had subscribed to this service, but eventually what happened, only like the emails used to come and I never used to go and actually have a look at it. And my email, like my inbox also was very much cluttered and all of that. So one day I decided to unsubscribe from a lot of things. So Wordsmith also I unsubscribed from, and I wanted an alternative for this service. So then this was how the idea for the project came into place. And what I did was, instead of receiving the word meaning as well as the word as well as its definition on an email, I decided to switch it over to SMS, because SMS, in my opinion, are more accessible. Like anytime an SMS come, I can just directly have a look. I don't have to open an inbox separately or open my email separately. So that was the purpose behind. And as you can see this screenshot, this is how it looks like. So these are the screenshot while I was testing the whole setup. So you can see here is the word and below it is the meaning of the word. Then again, here is a word, here is the meaning. So I had set it in such a way that every day I receive a word and the meaning. Now coming to the interesting part, how did I actually build it up? So the requirements for building this project were, you take Python 3.6 or newer version, as a newer version, that is totally up to you which version to take. You need to have a smartphone having SMS capability that each one of us has. And then the third thing was that you need a Twilio account, because only because of the Twilio account I was able to send messages. I was able to send an SMS. So now, for creating the Twilio account, I have specified the link here. So if you go click and go on to it, so this is a referral link. You can create your accounts using this link. And when you create an account using this link, Twilio gives you certain free credits so that you can develop your side projects using Twilio. Uh, okay, so all these are the requirements. Other than that, you don't require any extra installations on your system. And if you are further interested in reading the limitations of the account, that link also I have attached in the presentation itself. So this you can do. Now next thing is what all things will be needed for developing this project. So first of all, we'll be creating a Python virtual environment. Now what exactly is virtual environment? So whenever you install packages in Python, there are two ways of doing it. Either you can install each and every package globally, or you create a separate environment for installing your packages based on the project. So creating a virtual environment is a preferred way of doing it so that your packages do not conflict when there are different versions of a particular package. That is why it is preferred to, create a virtual environment. So as you can see on the screen, these are just the normal commands that you use on Linux or Mac OS. I'm doing an mkdir word notifier. So word notifier is my directory name. This command will create a directory. Then I'll move inside of the directory. Move inside of the directory, and then I want to create a virtual environment. So this is the name of the virtual environment, word notifier -venv. Venv is the package, and this is the name of the virtual environment. So through this command, I am creating the virtual environment. Then how would I activate virtual environment? If I don't activate the virtual environment, all installations would be in my global system. I don't want that to happen. So using this command, that is source word notifier when bin activate, I activate the virtual environment. Now you need to be able to identify whether your virtual environment is activated or not. So that you will come to know by this last line that you can see. On your left hand side, you will see the name of your virtual environment. Now, as you can see here, this is the name of the virtual environment. Then you will be installing all the requirements. So I'm doing pip install Twilio. Twilio, because we need to be able to send the request, we need to send the response back from Twilio, and Twilio needs to receive your request. In this case, we are not sending anything to Twilio, only Twilio is sending us the messages. So that is only one-way communication that is happening. Then you need a request library. So request is an HTTP library in Python, and it is helping us in integrating the API that in turn will be sending us the messages. And here we need an API because every time a new word meaning has to be sent. So for that purpose, we need an API. And then the last package that you can see is python.env. So python.env is basically used for security purpose. Now, by security, what I mean is you need to keep your API keys secure. API keys should not be visible to anyone. And obviously, when you push your code on GitHub, all the code is visible to others as well. And that time these API keys need to be hidden. So that is why we are using this python.env package. How exactly we are using it, that you will come to know after we move ahead with the code. So now everything that is required for the project setup to be done is there with us. Now we just need to write the code for the project. Now how will you see what all packages have got installed? So every package also installs some dependency along with it. That's why there are a lot of packages that you can see here. So this list will be visible to you when you type the command pip freeze. What pip freeze does is it lists all the packages like this along with their versions. And then you can write all these installations, all these package names inside a requirements.txt file. The importance of requirements.txt file is like if today I have built the project, tomorrow you decide to build the same project, you can directly consume my requirements.txt as well. Or it makes the setup to be much easier. Like manually, if we keep on doing it, we might miss out on any particular installation. So that is why like each of the things has its own utility. So far, are there any doubts?
As of now, no, brother.
All right.
Okay.
So next step is now how to configure Twilio. So Twilio has the programmable SMS API. When you create an account on Twilio, you will be able to see that they have a very comprehensive documentation for APIs available, and there are sample code snippets as well. So let us have a look. Like I won't be able to log into my own account and show you the whole dashboard because all the API keys and secret token and everything is directly visible. So I won't be doing that, but what you can simultaneously do is if you are following along, you can just go ahead and create an account. It just takes a minute to fill this form, and then you will be able to access all the Twilio console and dashboards and everything. So you can open the dashboard, check out how things look there, and then you need to purchase basically an active phone number. What is the meaning of active phone number here? Active phone number is a phone number that is going to be sending the messages to your phone. So Twilio has a list of phone numbers that are available, and you can directly select any phone number from those list of numbers. So and these are paid numbers, so you don't have to pay as you already have the free credit. But if there are no free credits, then the service becomes paid. So I had my free credits. That's why I was able to purchase this active phone number. So around like 29-30 credits, I think they give for free. So that active phone number can be purchased, and Twilio will be sending you like from this number you will be receiving the messages on your phone. And now next is here is a guide on how to search and buy a phone number on Twilio. So when you click here, and there is a support page here. So if you have any confusions on how to buy it, then in my presentation itself, you will be able to find out that there are certain numbers mentioned, and they have specified each and every step that how do you purchase the phone number. Moving ahead, now we have all set up for the project done. We now also have a phone number that is going to send us the messages. Now all we need to do is figure out a way so that every day we have a new word and a definition. So for that, let us see what can be done. So this is a sample uh, screenshot that shows that how exactly the dashboard looks like. So when you will see your dashboard, you will be able to see something like this. Your purchased number will be here, this number that I have hidden. And then you will be able to see the things. Now next step is, as I had told you, that we will be using a Python.n. So not Python.n, we'll be using a .n file to store the credentials. So all you have to do is, now wherever you are creating the project, you need to create a .n file and store all your credentials inside of that file. And here I am storing Twilio account SID. Corresponding to it, you will be storing the account SID, then authentication token. We'll be storing the authentication token. Then, as phone numbers are also a personal thing, we don't share it publicly. I mean, you can't share it with anywhere and anyone, with anyone. So all these things need to be personal, and you can save it inside of a .n file. And now, okay, so Twilio phone number is basically the phone number through which Twilio is sending you the messages. Receiver phone number is your own phone number on which the messages are coming. And here again, there is a screenshot on how this dashboard is going to look like. So below you can see that there is an account SID and then you have an auth token. So once you go onto their console, navigate it, all these things would be visible to you. So you have to just copy the SID and auth token from here and paste it inside of your .env file. Okay, now our installations are done. Twilio account has been set up. All we have to do is get the messages and the word definition. So how are we going to do that? Just a second. Yeah. So how are we going to basically do that? For this, I have used a service as WordNick API. There is an API named as WordNick. Yeah. This is the API. You will have to create your account on this website. And then from here, it will give you the API token for accessing the API. And this is how its screen looks like. Yeah. So once you create an account and then you will be taken to the dashboard. As you can see here, this would be your screen. Now from here we need to pick up the WordNick API. So for taking up the WordNick API from the dashboard, you have to go to settings. Here you can see the settings option. Once you go on to settings, this would be the page that would be visible to you. You have to scroll down to the bottom and here you will be able to see WordNick API key. And here again, it will ask you for certain details for giving you the WordNick API key. So for that, you will have to click on this link, developer WordNick API, and fill this form. So after filling this form, it will give you the API. And a small caveat here is that instantly the API keys won't be available. It might take 2 to 3 days for getting the API keys. So till then, until and unless your API keys are received, you can just keep on sending some static message. And then once you have the API key, you can update so that the API responses start coming. So now this WordNick API key will also go inside your .env file, as this is also a secret key. This also needs to be kept under your inside your .env file. As long as so until and unless you have your WordNick key, you can keep the field as empty. Once you have the WordNick key, you can just paste your WordNick key here, API key here. And now the core logic of the application, how we have built the application. So the application is divided into two functions. One is get word of the day API. So what does get word of the day API word of the day function do? It just queries the API and returns the parsed response for a particular date. So, and send SMS will be sending you the received message onto the phone. So now you will have to create a file. I have named my file as app.py, and then we need to write all the import statements. So we need to import OS. We are importing OS so that we can fetch all the values that are stored inside our .env file. We are importing JSON for parsing the API response that comes. We are using datetime module to for getting the current date. I need current date to fetch word of the day. Then we need requests module. So request, as I had told earlier, request is the HTTP library in Python, and it is helping us in communicating with the third-party API. And then we have .env. So this .env is the module that we have installed using python-.env. .env helps us in loading all the values from the .env file we created. So there has to be a way of importing all the values from that .env file into our Python file. So for that purpose, we are using .env, and load underscore .env helps in loading the values. And last one is Twilio. Twilio helps us in sending the messages as SMS. So these are all the imports that you will be needing. Okay, and now how do we fetch the value? So OS library has a method named as getenv. So we can do os.getenv, and then you can just write all the key names. These names should be same as the names that you have written in your .env file. Only then it will be able to fetch the value corresponding to the keys. Make sure that there are no spelling mistakes or no differences in the names. Okay, so we are almost at the close to completion of the core logic. Now step third is you need to query the API and parse the content. This is the URL of the WordNik API. This URL is given in WordNik API's documentation. I haven't put it so you can check the URL from there. It accepts two arguments. One is date, that is the current date, and the API key. So current date you can fetch using the date module. And then we have a WordNik API key. So that is the value that is stored inside of your .env file. Now this accepts a get request call. So using requests, you can make get request call. Now, how did I know that it accepts get request call is by reading its documentation. So there they have mentioned that get request call needs to be sent. So once you send the get request call, it would return you a response object. Now object would have multiple methods, out of which I am using only the text method. As text is a string, so I won't be able to parse the response. That is why we are using loads method to parse to convert the response into a dictionary, into a JSON dictionary. And then we will be able to parse the response and fetch the word as well as its meaning. And before fetching, I am just checking whether the call has been made successful or not. So this is double equal to response.status code double equal to 200. 200 stands for status OK. So this is the logic of the application. And also in the else part, I have mentioned if there is no WordNik API key, then this word and its meaning can be will be sent as a static message. Only when WordNik API key is available, dynamic responses would be start sending. So this was how it picks the dynamic response, picks the word and its meaning from the API. And now that we already have the word and its definition, right? All that is left is on your mobile phone, this data should come. Now for sending this data to your mobile phone, we are using Twilio. So you need to authenticate Twilio. This is used for authentication. It accepts Twilio account SID and auth token, and a client object gets created. Then there is just this method client.messages.create, where you have to tell Twilio that what message you are sending that goes inside body, from which number you are sending it. So here you will have to, like here your the purchased phone number would come, and 2 is receiver phone number. Here you will be putting your phone number. And also this triple quote thing has come by mistake. You don't have to put this triple quote, and it is not to be used here. Just write it as a function. This Python is like written incorrectly. And now all you have to do is, as this is just a script and this doesn't have to be imported anywhere, that is why I have done if name is equal to main. This is double equal to, this is because of the tool that it is coming as a single equal to, this is double equal to. Now here I have just fetched the current date and I am making the function call from here. So this is the complete application. This is how your app.py file would look like. Now when you would test your application, you would find out that all our goals have been achieved. Like this would send the message as well as like the word along with its meaning. One part is still left, that is how would you get the messages daily. At the moment, what would happen, anytime you would run your application, it would send an SMS on your mobile phone. But we need to automate this process. Now for automating this process, all you have to do is deploy this application on Heroku. And once you go on Heroku will give you, there is one scheduler named as, there is one add-on named as scheduler. I go on to Heroku again. I am not logging into Heroku, but you can go on to Heroku, and there it will ask you if you need to add any add-on. So scheduler is a free add-on. You can just add scheduler as an add-on in your application and just schedule the application there. It is free of cost, but when you create your account, it would ask you to enter the credit card details. Only then it allows to use the add-on, credit or debit card, I think. So using the Heroku, like using the scheduler add-on, I automated the process and daily started receiving this message. Now, if you are interested in reading about how the deployment has taken place, because that would again take some time to explain deployment, so you can go and you can have a look at this blog I had written. Okay. So if you are planning to do this as a project, this is where I have written the blog, and all the steps, even the steps for deployment, are written in this blog. So you can have a look, check it out. If there are any doubts or anything that you would like to ask, a better way to solve the problem, then you can reach out to me. I'm there on Twitter, or you can reach out to me there. Apart from this, I have mentioned this blog here as well. If you are unable to find the link, or the main link gets lost, you can just have a look at mridubhatnagar.in. So I have referenced this blog here as well.
Mridu, probably can you also send it on chat?
Yeah. I'll just send it.
Okay. So we'll also be putting out the slides on the GitHub repo. So once the the session is over, it can be put up on the PyLadies Chennai GitHub repo, and you can view it from there too.
Yeah.
There's also one question by Abhishek. If you want to take it up now or later.
Yeah, I'm just about to end my presentation. Then I can take up the question.
Okay.
Yeah. I think this is only the last. Just a second. Yeah, this is the last only. I can take up the question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the question is, do we need to verify the recipient's number on Twilio portal?
Recipient's number on Twilio portal. I don't remember we have to do it or not because it has been a while since I did it. But I don't think a separate verification is needed for the Twilio number. I am still not very sure. I need to check it. But if there is any verification required, I would have written it in the blog itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's fine.
We need to just take care of the phone number that Twilio is providing us. Apart from that, I don't think I verified my own number anywhere. And also, when we are mentioning our phone number, I think it requires you to enter the country code as well, because everything for Twilio is basically US based. Even the phone number configuration and all those things. So just we need to keep in mind whether we are using +91 or whether plus is allowed or not, or 91 is allowed or not. So all these things need to be taken care of.
All right. I hope Abhishek that answers your question. I think he has some issue with typing it out. So, any other questions do we have? So I do have one question. Like, what would be the alternate to Twilio? Like apart from Twilio, what else do you think we can explore?
Uh, I haven't really checked out for alternative APIs that are available for SMS actually. And I am not very sure if there is any Indian startup or a company having built an API and we can use it or not. So the company that came to my mind was basically Twilio only, so I just used it. If I come across anything, I'll share. You are not audible.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, I was just telling, sure, definitely. You can probably share the links and, where to reach you also. And we'll anyway send a mailer to all the participants who have joined so they can do that after the session.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Do we have any other questions for Vidhu? Okay. All right. So even if you have, so just type it in the chat till the end of the meetup, right? So thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Vidhu, for doing this and sharing it. So I'm pretty sure a lot of them will try to implement it, and the blog is also pretty self-explanatory. I did go through it before your session, so
Thank you.
yeah. So all right, thank you so much, and I think with that we can. What a great session. Yeah, awesome. So with that, we can, I think, move on to our lightning talks. And so the first lightning talk we have is by Abhiram. Abhiram, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
So,
Right. If you can.
I'll share my screen now.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
just let me know once you can see it.
Okay. Yes, I can see your screen. Airflow 101.
All right. Okay, so I cannot hope to be as eloquent as Mrudu was. I haven't rehearsed it. I basically finished the slides 2 minutes before. So I'll try making this as informative as possible because it's a pretty great tool. But let's see if I can do it justice. Everyone can hear me, yes?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so basically it's another scheduler. Okay, so what is a scheduler? Now, if you want some things done at a particular time, you require some way of knowing when to do it and who is going to do it. Okay, and a lot of times we have resorted to manual scheduling, and that's because it's very reliable to count on people rather than automated things. or so we think, because everyone has a responsibility, and if they have to get something done, they'll do it. But we are fallible, right? We, as humans, we make mistakes, we tend to slip up. And as you can, like, the fact that I finished these slides just 2 minutes before is something of a, like a sort of proof that humans can make mistakes and they cannot be depended upon as much as we thought. So we rely on automated things, and so we need more schedulers. And that's what a scheduler is. And the trailing dots are just to indicate that it's a lot more than just another scheduler, right? It can be used to monitor cron jobs, transfer data from one place to another, automating your DevOps operations. And like a lot more verbiage of sentences that I've actually copied some of this from some more sites. So periodically fetching data from websites and update the database for your awesome price comparison system. All of these are tasks that are characteristic of scheduler jobs, but this is something that Airflow does a lot more better, and I'll tell you why in a bit. Machine learning pipelines. Now, the machine learning is pretty much a buzzword now, but we have a lot of ETL that is required for machine learning that goes under the radar, where scheduling is very much required, and that's where Airflow can be very reliable. But the dots between what and why is to indicate that it's better than what is currently there in contemporary usage, right? So we have cron jobs that were used as the de facto form of scheduling so far, and so cron jobs, I had an example for it, but I don't have it now. Okay, so cron jobs, basically what they were, where you would set a particular schedule to be run at, and it would be run in the background of your Unix system. Okay, and it would trigger any sort of shell script or Python script or anything that you want at a certain point of time. But they're not very reliable, again, because they are prone to errors that you cannot capture when they occur, and you cannot monitor them because they are primitive, okay, and they cannot be relied upon. Deployment is a problem because you have a lot more tools that you need if you want to deploy cron jobs. Scalability, you say scalability, that is multiple cron jobs. If you have to deploy them, how would you do them at scale, right? That's a problem that cron jobs suffer from. And auditing and backfilling. So auditing is something that I'm a big fan of. If you want to see what has happened and who has done it, all of those tasks cannot be monitored reliably using a cron job. Let's say you have a shared Unix system, okay, that is many users are using your system, using your setup at work, and everyone schedules jobs based on their requirements because everyone's requirements are different. Now, if something goes wrong and some task fails, all you get is a blind error, but you don't know who has run it. And if you think that it's your task script that is erring out, then it's a problem because it might just be a false negative. And if your task is actually failing, but you don't know that it's yours, then again, that's a auditing nightmare. Some of it can obviously be circumvented by knowing who has triggered it using, the username and all of that. But that comes with a lot of binding, right? Like it's not coming right out of the box. And Airflow helps solve some of that problem. Am I going too fast? Is it okay?
Yeah, I think you're going perfectly fine.
All right. Okay. So now, of course, there are alternatives. Like you Google for a scheduler right now, you get a lot of alternatives. Right now, you have Apache Airflow, Luigi, Argo, Kubeflow, and MLflow. And this comparison chart is from datarevenue.com. Props to them. And because it's an impartial slide site, they have actually ranked Apache Airflow pretty low, but it's better than the alternatives. So see, Apache Airflow has a ranking of B, which makes it more mature. What does that mean, right? Maturity is a sign of maturity and popularity. They are actually a corrective characteristic in the sense that how much does the community trust them, right? The fact that I'm able to go so fast is an indication of the fact that you can go back and check for Apache Airflow and you will not be left in the wild with no documentation, because the documentation is pretty robust. Simplicity, they've ranked it at C. I beg to differ. I'll show you why in a bit. Breadth is an indicator of what all it can do, versatility, right? That is something that Apache Airflow is very good at, and even datarevenue.com seems to agree. MLflow, this seems like this chart is a bit outdated though, because I've compared MLflow recently and it is a bit more versatile, but it is still not mature enough because the documentation is hard to read. But these alternatives, you should not take my word for it. You should not take Data Revenue's word for it. You should definitely compare them. But right now we are touting Apache Airflow, and that is what we're going to talk about. What are the components in Apache Airflow, right? Just keep these things in mind because I'll show you on a demo in a bit. So DAGs are, it's a short form for directed acyclic graph. Okay, and if you remember something from your computer science like classes in third semester or fourth semester, a lot of assumptions here, then you know that a directed acyclic graph is basically a chain of components. One like every component A depends on the depends on the preceding component. I started off with A, so every component C depends on the preceding component, B depends on the preceding component A. Okay, so that's a chain, and the fact that the C does not A does not depend on C makes it an acyclic graph. So it's a directed acyclic graph, and you see a lot of that in Airflow because it is a chain of tasks to be performed. And the second thing is schedulers. Now, schedulers, I mean, this is what we started the whole topic about. It has characteristics like you can set when you want your task to start and at what intervals you want it to run. And here I'll slow down for a bit and explain these, right? Instead of having those verbose method, not verbose, it's very abstracted form of saying, let me just actually edit this a bit. I'm going to, so if you have the normal cron job, right? Normal cron job, you have something like 1 star 0. This is the pattern of a cron jobs scheduling that you have to set, okay? Which is basically like you want to set it on 1 day every hour. Like I'm basically making a mistake on the format, but this is how you indicate at what time, at what hour, and how often you want it to run for a cron job. But here, by abstracting that out and making it a lot more readable, Airflow tells you that, I want to run it quarterly, run a task quarterly, but I know what I'm doing. You don't have to know what is happening in the background. All you have to say is run it quarterly, it'll run it quarterly. Backfilling, there's an exclamation sign here because I'm excited about this. The fact that you can go back, and even if you start a job on the 5th of September, you can have it backfill data from say 4th of July to 4th of September, and you can make it look like your task has been running from the 4th of July, right? That's what backfilling means. And even if you miss a couple of days in the middle later on, you can have that be populated with data that you reliably put in. This is not fudging the numbers. This is actually filling in values so that your entire pipeline is not messed up because of missing values. Next is operators, and this is where the versatility comes in. You see the where's the breadth A here? That's what operators is fulfilling, in the sense that you can have Bash operators, Postgres operators, Google Cloud operators, Python, and Papermill. Papermill is for authorizing notebooks, Jupyter notebooks. So what are operators? They are basically, you can call them functions that will perform tasks of these functionalities, right? If you have a Bash operator, it means it will execute a shell script at a regular schedule. Postgres is for doing, it's one among the different many databases connections that it supports. Google Cloud, again, one of the 3 cloud-based connections that it supports. Python, we are in a Python conference. We don't talk about this. Papermill is again, it's a add-on on top of whatever you can do using Python. And connections and variables. So connections, you cannot have a database in the back end without connecting to it, right? So Postgres, if you want a Postgres job to go on, you need a connection to it. Variables, you don't have to rely on all your environment variables. You can specify all the variables that you want over here. Like if you want to keep secret variables, all of them can be set using variables. I feel like I'm running out of time, so I'm going to speed up a bit more. So the installation, it's basically like, to start off, you can just do 3 steps and you're on your way. Pip install Airflow, do it in a virtual environment. Nadu has already set context. Airflow init DB. So now Airflow takes a lot of things for granted, that in the backend, all your database information is set. All the storage is happening in a local database or on a cluster database based on your setup. And Airflow web server is where, if you start this, is where you can see the UI. And that is one more very appealing trait of Airflow, in the sense that cron is just a UI based tool. And as much as I love the CLI, it is not enough for most people, right? If you are able to see it on the browser, it's a lot more clearer, it's a lot more simpler. Now, how to add new tags? This was again supposed to be a demo. I'll just show you. So right. So this is my interface, and this is how everyone's interface if they start Airflow. Right off the bat, you get all of these example operators. Okay, Airflow doesn't take anything for granted. It tells here, it tells you that all these operators are here. You can test them out. You can go into it and look at what is happening in the backend. I'll just show you one of them that I have set up for an example. So this is something I've christened test by operator. It's a Python operator, and in the backend, this is all the code there is. Okay, for a simple operator, you have complex operators as well. So what is happening is, now just assume that I've already triggered the, once again, where is that? I've already done this part. Okay, and that's how you're able to see this over here in your local host at port 8080. Okay, so here you have a couple of like components that you have to start off with. First of all, you set the arguments and who is the owner at what start date. So days ago is an abstraction that Airflow provides on the time, and you say 0 because it started today. What is the name of the DAG? So this is again, and it's a constructor. Okay, you're just setting some parameters, default parameters, or some parameters that you want to override, and these are the functions that you want happening. Okay, right, print this and print next. These are simple functions that I've written to just print the time. And the fact that I've christened them print this and print next is an ordering that I want to be followed. Task 1, which is calling print this, will precede task 2, which will call print next. Okay, and all you have to do to start it is trigger it using this and say, start it. Okay, trigger it. If you say trigger, it'll start immediately. And how did this appear here? I would be remiss if I did not tell you this important bit. It's a part of setting it up, but you'll have to set it up at a folder called DAGs inside the Airflow folder that you can create when you set up Airflow. Test DAG is inside the DAGs folder, and Airflow will periodically keep looking for new DAGs. This is a error that I will explain in a bit. Yeah, and you see this periodic timer that's happening. It is looking up if there are any new DAGs available, filling up the DAG bag, very nice rhyming name, from this particular path. Okay, and once it realizes that there is a new DAG, it will pick it up over here. I think I'm almost at the end. Where is it used in the wild? I work at a ML engineering company. Actually, I work at a supply chain company, and I'm an ML engineer there. And there we have a lot of data tasks to perform. Okay, and when you cannot do them in one, and you can't do them en masse. You have to separate them out. You have to change them as necessary, schedule them for when they're supposed to run, manage dependencies, all of this. Okay, for that, Airflow is perfectly fitting our bill, and you should definitely experiment with it. I've definitely stepped over someone's time. And why more automation? Okay, you need to automate it so that you don't make errors in manual setting up of stuff. What I actually wanted to show was something called Sandman that I called obnoxiously Sandman. Or basically, I had a Google Keep sheet, okay, where I track at what time I sleep every day. It's something that I do to just keep track of timings in this pandemic time. Let's address the elephant in the room. And I wanted to see if I'm sleeping well. I'm not. Okay, so I have like a nice little heat map that is very visually appealing, and I know that I've slept very little on an average on Thursdays in July. Okay, and I've slept pretty well in October, 531 hours. That's more than 8. That's unnatural, but okay. But I'm sleeping well in October, and what I wanted to do was I wanted to automate this using Airflow so that it will pick up the timings automatically from my Google Keep, and then run it every day and generate this heat map on an ongoing basis. And I'm pretty sure I'll reach that goal in a couple of hours, but I was not able to do it for this particular demo. I'm sorry. So yeah, and this is it's a testament to what Airflow is capable of. Not just printing two commands sequentially, you can do all of this and more. Maybe next time I'll show you. So are we there yet? Like, is this the end of pinnacle? Is a pinnacle of excellence? No, there's something called Prefect that is doing a little bit of what Airflow is doing, a little bit more and a little bit less. So you have to definitely check it out. I have not compared Prefect versus Airflow yet. I intend to. And that is all. I'm sorry for the pacing issue. I should not have picked this for a 10-minute topic, because you need to do more justice to it. I will. And resources. How do you get stuff from Google Keep? This nice little non-official Google Keep API by Kibis, and I've uploaded this on my GitHub repository. And I'm sorry to Sonam for stepping over our time, and I thank PyChennai for the opportunity. Thank you. Any doubts? I don't know. I don't know if I have time for it. Thank you.
Okay. No problem. That was an amazing talk. Seriously, I mean, it was like I was hooked on for every minute and was patient listening. So I think you did justice. No issues of stepping. Probably we can have another session with you. Where you can give a full-fledged, let's say, a technical talk or a hands-on talk session, right?
I'd love to.
Okay, awesome. All right. So just a minute. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Abhiram, for doing the session. So do we have Sonam? Yeah.
Hey, hi, good evening all.
Hi, Sonam. All right. So we have our next lightning talk by Sonam. So yeah.
So my network might be weak. So if someone if I get stopped at some point of time, just let me know. Okay. Hello.
Sure. Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Thank you. Are you able to see my screen? 1 second.
Yeah.
Are you able to see now?
Yes, I can. You can see it now.
So first, I'll let you through the whole demo of Benchman and what is the whole idea about behind Benchman. So during this lockdown, I came up with the idea to bring back the college environment and watching movies with your friends and taking recommendations from them or some. So in college we used to watch TV together in the room, or we used to discuss about movies. So the whole this touch is missing in this lockdown, and so that's why I tried to create here. So I'll just go through the demo. Okay. Sorry, I forgot to do my introduction. So I'm Sonam. I'm working as a software lead in an IIT Madras incubated company. We do pipeline inspections, and I'm also a tech speaker. Mostly, I discuss about machine learning algorithms, mathematics behind machine learning algorithms at PyCon India and the SIR PyData Global as well. So let's get into the demo a little. So here you can see the top rated, popular, and what are coming next. You can also go into TV series and kind of check the list at least. Here you can get into your list. So here these lists have been recommended by my friends, which I'll watch later maybe. And then friends, you can get into the friends tabs and you can see my 2 friends over here, and I can see their list, like what they have liked and what they are going to watch next. You can send your friend requests over here. So all these are my friends, and I haven't added them yet, but they are there. So yeah. One more thing is you can make your own favorite list watch later list and watch list. Maybe you can recommend to your friends. So they are my two friends. Like if I want to recommend Larry, I can recommend it. If I want to review it, I can just go and review this movie, and I can review, and it will be available to all my friends. You can see the cast, characters, and similar kind of movies over here. So it's pretty much like what we used to have, and yeah. So about its the technical framework I have used here is Django. Django is an open source backend web application written in Python. And advantages, there are many advantages of Django. First of all, it has default database in SQLite. And you can also shift to Postgres or your other MongoDB if you want. It's not very difficult to shift your databases in Django. It's a simple, so if you want to make a profile of a person, you can give all the objects like its age, its name, everything. It's flexible. You can anytime map any kind of profile into another profile. So if certain person likes certain kind of movies, these things are very much easy with Django. You have seen like Django is the framework behind Instagram and YouTube. So many multiple maps are very easy with Django. Reliability and scalability, all these platforms are very highly scalable. One more thing is we are going to use unsupervised learning here to kind of recommend you movies. So in future we are planning to have a Benchman bot where you can find better movies. So in case of unsupervised learning, you can infer pattern from the data set without being labeled. So it is mostly used in clustering, anomaly detection, your latent variable, like reducing the number of features into major features. And then K-means is nothing but it's directing. So if you are mostly into thriller movies or mostly into comic movies, so you can just make, if a new movie comes and it falls in one of the clusters, you will directly get a notification that such kind of movies are there. So these kinds of things can be easily done by K-means. Then you can give probability to people, like this movie will be liked much more. So what is likelihood? Not probability, is actually probability is data given distribution. So if the distribution is for comic movies, there's a probability that you will like that movie, but your distribution given data. So distribution is your movies, and your data is your own liked or unliked movies. So likelihood that you will like Enola Holmes is like a number that you will get. So yeah, and in future we are going to use EM algorithms. So even if you haven't added a kind of movie that you liked, like EM algorithms are mostly used when a variable is missing. So if you want to read more about EM algorithms, I have written a blog about it. So you can go on my blog MLN Startups, and you can start reading about or if you want me to write some specific algorithms, I will be happy to do that. Also, we are going to introduce dimensionality reduction and stuff, like breaking down maximum features into two major maximum features. So yeah, so this is like what's Benchman is. You can go on the website. If there's feedback, I'm happy to get one. sonapankaj2@gmail.com. The Instagram page of the Benchman is also available. We are doing Halloween kind of Halloween special over here. And yeah, so you can talk to your friends if they are, interested in such kind of things. You can ping me, guys. Yeah. Hello.
Awesome. Hi.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, Sonam. This was really interesting and something new to explore. So I think we can. Lockdown has given us a lot of opportunities to experiment and try out with new projects, right? Yeah. So you can probably put these links on the chat, the site link and where to, get in touch with you, and then people can do that. Hello.
Hello, am
Yeah.
I audible?
Yeah, you're now. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So I was just saying, if like you could just post those links, like your Bingeman links and all of that onto the chat, so people who are interested can definitely join it. Awesome. Okay. So I think that brings us to the end. So do we have any questions for Abhiram or Sonam? Um, if you have, just feel free to put it up on the chat. So, all right. So thank you everyone for joining. So this is pretty much so what we used to do physically. We have now tried our best to kind of have virtual meetups and bring new topics and get introduced to different people, different technologies. So that's what we do at Pioneers Chennai. And so yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. So we are at the end of the meetup at the moment, and Ramya, you can probably stop the recording. Yes. So after this, we do